אז בגובה, פרק 41, מה קורה אלקנה?
אהלן אייל, מה נשמע? מה שלומך?
בסדר גמור, מה חדש? הלייב פוקר חזר.
הלייב פוקר חזר, אתה כבר עם שקית מוכנה ל-day 2 של האקדמיה.
כן, מוצ"ש.
בהצלחה.
תודה, ויש לנו אורח קודם כל רצינו להביא אותו בלי קשר הרבה זמן, אבל גם סידר לנו חתיכת אורח בעצמו.
קודם כל יש לנו אורח בפרק הזה, ויש לנו גם את מי שקישר בינינו, את הנציג הדיפלומטי, שהוא גם שחקן פוקר מעולה בפני עצמו, וגם סטרימר מצוין, ויוצר תוכן בעברית, שאת זה אנחנו תמיד מעריכים ותמיד אוהבים, והוא הוזכר בפודקאסט לא מעט פעמים בפרקים האחרונים, אז ברוך הבא לאס בגובה, תום ג'בוטי שחם.
תודה רבה, כיף להיות פה.
מה זה ג'בוטי?
האמת, ג'בוטי זה משהו שהיה לי הייתי בקפוארה כ3-4 שנים, כשהייתי באזור חטיבה. איזשהו כינוי שנדבק לי, משהו בפורטוגזית. אני כבר לא זוכר מה זה אומר.
אתה כבר לא זוכר.
לא, האמת, מצחיק הוא שחיפשתי.
גוגל טרנסליט.
חיפשתי את זה, מצאתי דברים מאוד מוזרים. וגם כמה דברים שונים.
גדול.
אבל זה כינוי שנשאר איתי, ראיתי קצת משחקי מחשב, אז פשוט הייתי צריך לבחור כינוי, בחרתי בזה, ומאז זה נשאר.
אני חושב שכולנו, כשהיינו צריכים לבחור כינויי אונליין, זה תמיד דברים מוזרים, זה אף פעם לא משהו פשוט, זה תמיד היה מוזר, שלי היה גם, אני כבר לא זוכר אותו, זה היה.
לא, כשמגג זה מאוד הגיוני.
כן. יפה, אז בואו, do your thing.
אז נגיד, קודם כל נגיד כמה דברים. קודם כל, תודה רבה לבחור שמארח אותנו פה תמיד, אור אליעז המלך מאולפני פרוקאסט, פודקאסטים בגבוה, היום עם גם מצלמות ותאורה, אני ממש מרגיש שאנחנו מוכנים להקים ערוץ פוקר.
כן, תשמע, מרגיש סופר מקצועי להיות פה.
נכון? אז תודה לאור המלך, ותודה לספונסרים שלנו, ראנר, שכנראה בקרוב חוזרים.
אמן, מחזיקים אצבעות, אנחנו כבר מתחילים לראות את החזרה לחיים פה בארץ, וכן, מחכים לכם.
אכן, אז בזכות אדון ג'בוטי, הצלחנו להשיג לפרק, זאת לא הייתה מתיחת 1 באפריל, אלקנה...
עשיתי פה לבלינג בכמה
רמות. מי שלא בקיא במה שקרה, אלקנה החליט שהוא הופך את זה שבנCB מגיע למתיחת 1 באפריל, שהוא לא באמת מגיע, ואחרי שעתיים אמרתי לו, די, אני לא יכול יותר עם זה, תגיד חזרה שהוא כן מגיע.
הוא התקפל.
התקפלתי.
במיוחד אחרי שכבר שלחו לי הודעות.
כן, קיבלנו הודעות נעצר.
רק לי לא שלחו?
מה, יא בני זונות, אתם לא מביאים אותו. כן, אתה לא בדיסקוט.
אתה לא בדיסקוט של אלון.
בבקשה, אוקיי.
אז אנחנו הקלטנו מראש את השיחה עם בן, ועכשיו היא תתחיל, אנחנו נעבור לאנגלית, לצערו של אלקנה.
שיט.
אז שוב, ג'בוטי, תודה שהבאת אותו. ותהנו. אוקיי, so אלקנה, I will let you introduce our very special guest today.
Well, our guest today is probably one of the best online poker players in the world right now. If you ask anyone, he'll be up there. Live cash, he has about $45,000 in Handle Mob. We like to dive into our guest's Handle Mob. He almost never play live, so and we're very happy to have him. He's one of the most starred
successful, very successful guest, probably our best successful guest and the most famous one until today.
So welcome to Us Bגובה, בנג'מין רולה.
Hi Ben.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you, and thanks very much to Tom, who helped us acquire your appearance today. And as you could probably already see, my co-host Elkana, his English is very, very limited, so treat him very, very well with your answers. So first of all, before we jump into it, how is everything? How is life during COVID in Austria right now?
It's all good for me personally. I definitely can't complain. I've been always working from home. I'm a cave person. My girlfriend would call me, but yeah, so nothing really has changed. Of course, we miss going out. We miss going to restaurants, I think, as anybody does. But yeah, I definitely can't complain. I think there are millions of people that have it worse than we have. So all good over here.
Can we just pause and say, I love his accent.
You like the German accent?
Yeah, I love the accent. It's the only accent that's worse than Israeli accent, so I like it.
I wouldn't be so.
I appreciate it.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Usually people don't like the German accent, especially amongst Germans. It's kind of cringe hearing a German speaking English. So yeah, I appreciate it.
We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. It's very strange times during COVID. It's like 1 year since it came into Europe and the United States, and online poker has had like a very strange time during those times because, of course, online poker has exploded during those times. I want to hear your opinion on online poker during COVID. How was it good for poker? How is it good for your company, Raise Your Edge, and what do you think the future is? What do you think the future is for coming for online poker?
I also actually have a little note on that question.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, from what I know, from my experience in the online poker, at the start, it was a very big boom. When COVID started, everything exploded. I lived back in London back there. So on Stars and Party Poker and GG and everything, the guarantees were enormous. Every other week, there was a big series, and even now there are a lot of big series. So what do you think about how can it prolong with it? I mean, whether people will have no money because of it after a long year of a lot of series and high buy-ins and everything, and how it affects, of course, with bankroll management and everything that you also talk about it a lot. So I would want to hear your opinion about whether it can actually continue like that or whether it will be much worse given, I don't know, 6 months, a year or something in that sort.
Yeah, and I agree. There was a big boom at the beginning. It didn't have such a huge impact on our company, I would say. Of course, we saw a slight increase, but I think it was also around the time where it was Scoop, a lot of online series, which is usually always a good time for our business, seasonal speaking. I think it I don't want to say it died over the year, then it went a little down, and now it slowly starts increasing with more and more lockdowns. I mean, of course, when people are home, they seek distraction in all sorts of online activities, whether it's video games, whether it's watching YouTube videos. I think you see a spike in all of the online activities. So I'm not surprised. I think it's in the responsibility of the poker sites to make it sustainable. So I feel right now the market is a little oversaturated because poker players don't have an infinite amount of money. So what happens right now, which really concerns me, and I hope that the poker sites are coming together or finding a solution for that, is I'm pretty sure all of you guys know the Sunday Million, right, on PokerStars. Yeah. So what's the prize pool there? Usually over $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. So now imagine that PokerStars is running 20 Sunday Millions on a Sunday. So this would essentially kill the guarantees because now they're going to be smaller guarantees for each of the tournaments, which makes it less attractive for recreation new players. So that's what's happening right now. I mean, the amount of tournaments that are being offered across all poker sites is insane. With also in GG, which is a little concerned with, I don't want to say fake guarantees, but it goes in that direction where you just have unlimited re-entries. They have late registration up until like 15 big blinds, 10 big blinds, 12 big blinds, which of course just pushes the guarantees to a limit where, they're very high, but not affordable for poker players at some point. So poker players go broke, and also it dilutes the guarantees, it dilutes the fields. And recreationals are being attracted by larger prize pools, right? We have all been at this point in time where, hey man, like with my $10, I can win 50 grand, I can win 100 grand. That's everyone's dream, right? Yeah. This is how we got into poker. We all of us, we all have like a gambling heart, and if it's like, I can get in there for $10, $15, $100, but I can only win 7K or 15K. It was like, screw it, I'm not going to be grinding the entire night, or maybe you have to skip a day of work. And that's usually the average person that plays poker. You have to consider those worries and their lives. And this is just very concerning right now, that I find the schedule from GG very aggressive. And of course, if you're poker stars, if you're party poker, you want to counter it. If your competitors are doing it, so you can't blame them. So I find there are too many tournaments right now online, which is good for the poker pro, because he can select from so many, and you can pick, you can take days off. You don't need to worry. I remember 4 years ago, there was no way you can skip scoop. No way. Right now, I'm going to play a couple of days. I'm going to play, but because I know in 1 month there's going to be another series around the corner. Yeah. You had Scoop, you had Double Cube, you had maybe the Party Poker Festival. There should be some sort of regulations that every poker site maybe can run 1 or 2 series, but also then PokerStars catches up, is adjusting, has the High Roller series, Winter series. I don't know. Everyone has like 4, 5, 6 series every year, and that's just, it's going to crazy. And we saw this already happening for the first time, where PokerStars at the end of the last year started having overlays in big series. I think wasn't even the Sunny Man that had overlays. So you can already see that the pool is spreading, and the guarantees are decreasing, and now it kind of recovers. The guarantees are going up again, but there need to be a long-term solution.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
didn't think of that point.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but for example, in the Raise Your Age Discord, there was a lot of discussion about that. For example, where someone won the Super Tuesday, which is a 1K buy-in. It used to be 100K or more guaranteed, and he won it when it was only 50K guaranteed for a 1K tournament. So that's just an example, and also in series, as I saw as well in the 100 million, and also a lot of overlays in GG and Party sometimes, and actually in Party they have had even more, from what I remember. And you have the Irish Open, you have the WPT, you have everything. You have so many series across all sites that, well, people can buy into everything, and it keeps on going. So they should probably sometimes stop, I guess, or at least decrease the amount.
Okay.
You already raised, like, in your answer, you raised this idea of some kind of danger to online poker when you just spoke about the guarantees and players are getting broke. And if you add, and I want to also talk about, if you're adding the hot topic this year of RTA, the real-time aid, assistance, whatever you want to call it, the bots or super tech machines that help you solve the game, don't you fear for online poker?
Absolutely. I think it's a concern, and this should be on one of the highest priority on the poker sites list to battle the RTAs. And that's something we players have very little insight in. If there's a chance for the players, I wish I would be more involved, because I want to have an impact. I want to adjust things, or I want to impact things to the good, so we can really make sure it's going to be a profitable game for everyone. Also, even for the recreationists that want to learn a little bit and maybe make some money with it. But with RTAs, I see this and also the greediness of the poker sites as one of the biggest dangers right now. So yeah, we have to see. I can't really say a lot, because whenever you try to work with the poker site, they can't share information because of privacy reasons, privacy policies, which, as we all know, a year or 2 years ago, especially in European law, EU law, got way stricter than it used to be. So of course they have to pay attention about the data they reveal. So as a player, you cannot just go there, hey, like, I know this player did this and that, and let's do something. Yeah, we look into this, but that's all they can say. So yeah, that's a rough topic, and I hope we can rely on the poker site's ability to increase their security measurements.
I have a little follow-up question on that. If, for example, you would either think or or see that the RTA affects it way too much and you think that online poker isn't profitable anymore, would you just go to live poker or would you start playing more often? I know that currently you only play 1 day a week anyway, but would you go only to the business or live or anything else?
I would consider playing more live for sure, but I've also so many other options and projects that could dive into. I wouldn't be too concerned for myself. So, but again, I love poker. I don't want to see this happening. And I think there are a couple of things that the poker sites can do. I think just going full name instead of screen names is a good step. I think this already, it kind of scares you when you want to cheat and you just want to screw over people and you have to use your real name. I think it's not going to stop anyone from cheating, but I think it will scare some people and they're going to rethink and going to consider doing this step into, hey, I'm going to get an RTA because my real name is being associated with the poker sites. Plus, and that is very important, I think very easy to implement, is a banning system across all platforms. So if you're getting banned on PokerStars for cheating, that the sites are sharing that information, that you also get banned on GG, you're getting banned on all major poker sites. I think this is a super easy solution, but I feel like the poker sites are being very stubborn. But this is, and I feel like, we have a super sophisticated system. We don't want to share our information, right? It's very competitive. I understand that, but in a certain way, I think you can work together only on that. You don't need to share your marketing. You don't need to share your player pool. But when it comes to that, sharing the information, okay, who did we ban for whatever? Here, we share that with PokerStars. We share that with Party Poker or any other kind of poker sites. And then you get a ban on all online poker platforms. And I think this is where you really, really consider, because it's like having multiple lives. It's like a video game. Well, okay, I get banned on PokerStars. I can still play on GG. And the problem is with the increasing amount of tournaments that are being offered is like, back then when you got banned on, let's say, Party Poker or PokerStars, it was really bad for your career because a big part of your schedule was just gone. Now, if I have an RTA and I get banned on GG, I don't give a fuck if I get banned on PokerStars. Even if I get banned on 2 or 3 sites, there's still so many other smaller sites that also start offering more games. You can easily get in so much more volume. And there's also the problem that I brought up earlier is even more in favor for anyone that is using RTA. So the poker sites need to come together to battle that.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, or
nothing?
Yeah, we have so many topics, so I don't want to to waste too much time. But we get your opinion. Let's talk about. Okay, so there were many questions from our listeners about tips for players. Let's say that I'm now new to poker, and I want to get into and I want to be successful as BenCB. So, what are your tips for players who are like now?
That's easy. Go to rageyouredge.com.
Yeah, like what are your tips for players who are just now starting their poker journey? How should they start to play, and what are your tips for this?
I actually want to differentiate it to 2 questions.
Okay.
One will be more of the technical side, which is, I guess, what the listeners asked previously in the comments in the post. And the second one should probably be the mental aspect of the game.
Yeah.
I know that obviously you talk about it a lot. I also have the mindset course from Raise Your Edge, and I think it helped me a lot. So I would appreciate to hear the advices for both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good that you brought it up because you need to separate these two. First of all, for the technical part, just play tight. Just play very, very tight. Just wait for good hands. Do very little bluffing. I think that's the best advice you can give for a beginner.
I need to keep
have
that
some
in mind.
Standard. Have some standard basic hand charts, preflop charts that you can check after your session and try to study it and try to memorize certain hands and get better with it. I don't necessarily would try to like at the very start try to understand the why behind certain concepts. I would just try to be like a monkey and really just being drilled and understanding, okay, this is what I'm doing and not the why behind it. This might confuse you, so you at least have a solid fundament of understanding, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do with 50 big blinds pre-flop. This is the hands I'm calling against the 3-bet. These are the hands I'm open raising for different stack size. And then you have like the foundation of your house. The next step then would be trying to understand why we want to do certain things pre-flop. Why do we want to be 3-betting those hands? Why do we want to call certain hands against a 3-bet from certain positions? And why do we fold certain hands from other positions? And this is where you start connecting the dots and start understanding the game. So at the beginning, you just want to copy a strategy. And the next step, you want to understand the strategy. That is very important. The way people put it is they try to understand the strategy without even being able to apply it, which just doesn't work. And from the mental side of things is understanding the variance. I think it's very important. I think every site right now provides some material in elaborating on how brutal the variance can be. So how many games you can be on a downswing. So you really get to understand, hey, man, I can play 500 games and I can be losing a lot of money even though I play well. And this also comes with bankroll management, of course, to understand, okay, why do I need 100 or 200 buy-in bankroll management? If I want to play $10 tournament I want to play $10 tournaments that I'm supposed to have $1,000 on my poker bankroll, and being very strict with that and not leaving any room to, let your emotions come into play and tell you or your ego, or you might be better and maybe you should play higher. It backfires a lot. And setting yourself very, very strict rules, even though you might not understand them, listen to the ones who have succeeded, listen to the poker sites. They have a lot of experience in that. Don't try to be the guy that is like, yeah, I'm going to do it better. I'm different. I'm special. No, you're not. That's exactly how everyone starts that is losing a lot of money, because they think they're special, they're better, they have figured out the shit and they don't need anyone telling them. Well, that's exactly how you lose your money. That's the best way to lose money really, really fast, thinking like this.
Okay, yeah, I think the last sentence is very summarizing. Like, don't try to think you're better than everyone. Like, learn all the time.
That's also how I started. I was like, my friends told me, you better have have a look at preflop charts. Back then, you were playing this short stick strategy with 20 big blinds cash game. I was like, I don't need charts. No, I'm winning in my home games at school and 1-cent, 2-cent games. So why do I need charts for online poker? And that's how I lost. I don't know. I started with $50 3 times and I lost it every single time. So I speak from my experience, and I also speak from experience from a lot of students and a lot of messages that I receive. And it always starts with, I know it better.
Yeah, I can say that the same from my experience as well. When I started, I lost my whole bankroll. And only after that, with proper bankroll management, I managed to go up and get the ABI higher and study and improve everything. So, and obviously even tightening up more, by the way. I think that's also an advice. I think that if someone, for example, is starting with, let's say, an ABI of $10, and he improves himself and he studies and he goes up, let's say he reaches ABI of 50, if he will just start and decrease the amount of buy-ins that he has and just play his the highest buy-in every time and everything, the variance will kill him. So in my opinion, you need to even have more buy-ins the higher up you go in the ABIs.
Yeah.
And I will just add that maybe not all of our listeners know what ABI is. So ABI is average buy-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do have a question. So you mentioned about having some pre-flop charts, having some to understand more of the concepts and not of the why. Would you recommend? I know that a lot of I watch Twitch sometimes, and we will talk about it as well. So I know a lot of people recommend people to start by watching other players in other Twitch streamers and everything in that sort. YouTube videos, like mostly free content, that is. Do you think that is the best way for beginners? And if so, what should be the follow-up? I mean, is it a course, a personal coach, like a course or a personal coach or any other?
I think there's so much free stuff out there that you don't necessarily need a course right away. I know this, if someone who is running a poker school, you might not expect that answer, but I've also designed the courses for people that are in a position where they understand the concepts that I'm teaching. Especially at the beginning, you might not be there yet, and you might not get as much value. Of course, there's also stuff for beginners, but I would encourage everyone to try at least for a little while on their own. And maybe it even works out and they don't even need a coach or course. I'm not saying you always at some point need a coach or course. I think there are many examples where people have done it without a coach or course, but you definitely need some material, right? And a lot of sites in these days offer some free material. I mean, Bochi knows this from our Discord, where you can post hands and you get feedback, and every day you can learn from people that have way more experience than you have, and you get feedback on your hands and you can learn, and you're not paying a single cent for it. So you have YouTube videos, you have content creators like myself providing videos where I speak about important topics. You can build up your own library with videos if you are more interested in post-flop or ICM, whatever, and you look up all of these poker sites and whatever you think might be best for you. And of course, if you really struggle and if you can't really see progress, it's never bad to have a coach who is looking into your game and is telling you, listen, like, you should focus on this. This is where you lose the most money. Or a course where you see, okay, these are actually the important concepts. Because one of the biggest problem I see in my coachings is not necessarily not people knowing strategies. It's not knowing where they lose the most money. But that's normal, right? If you're not experienced as someone else, you might not have the understanding that actually something you might be doing is so fundamentally wrong that it literally kills your win rate. So it's good to have someone. And you can also have it with poker buddies. And this was my agenda with Discord. So you can reach out to others or connect with others, and you might have a user-to-user coaching session where you don't pay anything, just with your time and commitment, and they're going to have a look over your game and maybe identify something that you have been overlooking for a very long time, and being able to fix a leak without paying lots of money.
We want to talk about your stream.
Mm-hmm.
Your stream, as we all know, is very successful. And there were a lot of questions also about how the stream affects your game, because I know a lot of streamers say it, and maybe even Tom, which is a junior streamer, will say that it affects your game, because when people watch you and when you're alone, it probably affects your judgment. So we would like to know how does it affect you? Maybe it affected you more before, and now it's the effect is less. Please share your thoughts with us.
It has one advantage and one disadvantage. Of course, the major disadvantage is that I reveal my strategy. I reveal how I perceive certain opponents, and they can readjust if they watch the stream, of course. And you don't even know, are they watching? And also people doing more random stuff. I mean, if I stream, so much more crazy stuff is happening, where people do silly bluffs or make crazy hero calls. So I always need to take that into consideration as well. For the advantage, I would say that since I have to speak out loud my thoughts, I would say I do less fundamental mistakes on stream compared to when I play live. Of course, I probably overall do more mistakes, but that's caused by multitasking, responding to a chat or having some technical issues. So the stream experience overall for sure makes you more mistakes when you talk to the chat, and then you're involved in a big hand or something. And for me, the streaming part or the streaming experience, even if I play a lot of tables, I still at least here and there want to check in with the chat. Otherwise, I don't need to be streaming. So even if usually I don't try to play more than 16 tables when I'm streaming. So I at least also have a little bit of a chance to engage with the chat. If I wouldn't be streaming, I'd play 20, 24 tables, but that's impossible to stream at the same time, or at least to engage with the chat. So, yeah, I would say that the fact that you have to speak it out loud, you make better decisions. It's the same when you would record your own game. And I always recommend this if anyone wants to become better, just record your own game and speak out loud your thoughts. And it's also, if you have a coach or someone, you can send it over. It's like, listen, do you think somewhere my thought process is flawed? And it's much better for them to have insights on your thought process and to improve your game.
Yeah, but I want to ask another thing in this subject. Because,
sure.
Okay, today you're very popular and of course your confidence is very high, but let's say that in the beginning, when you were like a beginner of a streamer, weren't you had like situation that you said, okay, if there weren't people watching, I wasn't making this play, but since there are people watching, I will do it, or exactly the opposite, like if there were not,
100%. Yeah, absolutely, and it's probably still happening.
Oh, still
unconsciously, where we're human beings. I think it's solely natural. It's, when 2,000 people are watching you, that in some moments, especially when you grind for long, it's like, do you really want to make now this play? And then you have to explain to the chat, and people are going to be sending messages. It's, of course, it's there, and it certainly also affects my decision-making process in a certain way.
Yeah, it's also funny, before that you mentioned that you don't play more than 16 tables while streaming. I think that most of the streamers that I tend to watch, for example, the Staples Brothers, Beverly Lex, the exception is Slayer V1, of course, which plays 20 and talks with the chat more than any other streamer. So most of the Twitch streamers, they mentioned that even Jeff Gross, for example, they prefer to play like max of 6 tables while streaming. So saying 16 is kind of crazy in terms of that.
Yeah, our eyebrows were like 16. I can't handle 2 without chat.
Yeah, I mean, I know that from watching your stream, of course, and modding it when I can. But I guess that when you also play that amount of tables, obviously you can pay a lot less attention to the chat. And I don't know if people see that or whether it influenced the time in the Twitch chat. I mean, whether they will stay longer or more. I think that usually, for now, as we can see with a lot of high stakes that are starting to stream, people, even if the players are not talking as much and answering questions in the chat and everything, they still just want to watch to see what they are doing. So, do you think that is one of the things that keeps you going with 2, 3, 4K viewers, even when sometimes you don't talk as much?
So sorry. So you mean that the motivation to engage with the chat keeps me going? I'm not sure if I got the question right.
I mean, okay. So I'm talking about the viewers. So if you have 16 tables, obviously you talk a lot less with the viewers, with the chat.
Yeah.
So do you think that as playing high stakes and explaining your thought process and basically giving people free material to study keeps people more in the chat, on contrary to people that talk a lot more?
Okay. I haven't really thought about it. It's an interesting question, to be honest. I
was going to ask a similar question about, like, there are two kinds of streamers, the interactive ones and the
silent ones.
Not the silent, the ones
like Colin Pav, for example.
Yeah, the ones that goes much into details about why they're making every decision and explaining the thought process. And then there are the interactive, that run with the chat and answer questions and talk a lot and have fun. And you're obviously more of the former one, the former category. So do you? It's like what decision? What makes you decide you're gonna go with this kind of stream, as opposed to the other one?
Because I enjoy engaging with the chat. I mean, one reason to start the whole project around Raise Your Edge was to help people, to give them advice when it comes to poker. So, of course, also when I stream, I embody the same beliefs or the same agenda with the whole project of trying to improve people's poker play,
but for free,
or poker game.
No, nothing.
Yeah. Actually, something that I talked about with Alon Eldar. Shout out to him. You probably know him, Zero Day, also in Raise Your Edge. So he also said that if let's say you grind for 9 hours. So if you're grinding alone in your room with nothing, just music or whatever, it's much different than grinding on stream. You can engage with chat, you can talk with people. Does that motivate you a little more maybe to grind sometimes? Because I know that you play a lot less right now, for example.
Well, I'm playing a lot less because just the team around Raise Your Edge, we are, I don't know, around 20 people if you consider the coaches. So you have lots of meetings, you have to discuss a lot of stuff around the content, marketing, a sale that is happening, updates for the course. We get approached for potential partnerships, collaborations that needs to be talked through. Then you have what always happens in business, legal stuff, tech stuff that you need to deal with. So it's like a full-time job, like with creating the YouTube videos as well. Having team meetings. I have my 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10-hour days just not even playing, and also want to study a little bit for myself. And so I can't really play more than once or twice a week. If now with Scoop coming up, I really need to work a lot more in advance to make sure that I need to make less YouTube videos. I'm not going to have scheduled any podcasts. I'm not going to be participating in any meetings that people know what we're going to be focusing on over the course of these 2-3 weeks, so that I really free up a lot of time. But I cannot just from today tomorrow, I'm going to be playing a full week, because then a lot of other stuff is going to be left behind. So yeah, that's the motivation is not, I don't mind being alone, like sitting there for 10 hours, 12 hours grinding. I enjoy that. It's just, right. It's simply that I don't have the time. And then also our esports project and some other smaller projects that I'm involved in. So it takes a lot of time. And then also, of course, I want to spend time with my girlfriend or friends.
Yeah, that is important.
Or have a life in like any other
Which
way.
I, by the way, met in Israel. I met her in Tel Aviv.
There was Alon Eldar Harode. He asked. I told you that we have small questions along the way from listeners, and he asked, "Is it true that you met your girlfriend on Tel Aviv on the beach?"
Yeah, exactly.
And she's German as well?
Almost 5 years ago, we met each other on the beach.
She's also German?
Lived in Vienna. No, she's from Bulgaria.
Oh, so a German and Bulgarian meet in Tel Aviv. That's nice.
That's a good story. That's a good story.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So as I said, I want to combine and to add some questions from our listeners. We had many questions. I think over 60, but we took down the best. And one of them was by Kobe Blyman. He wanted you to tell about online tales. So I'm going to just ask, how many of the online tales are real? How many of them are like you shouldn't pay attention to? What can you share how can you share your thoughts about online tales?
Oh, a lot. And I think they're actually quite reliable. I would say almost more than, because if you sit in front of a computer, you don't really try to hide anything because you think nobody can see anything. But timing tales, I would say, are the biggest. So for example, you very often are going to have this spot where, let's say, there's a flush draw on the turn and you bet a sizing where all of his flush draws have a snap call, right? So you don't have there's always the situation, maybe his mom enters the room and wants something from him. That's why he's distracted, right? And then we level ourselves. But, we take our chances, right? It's more likely that he has a marginal hand or he's trapping. So when the flush gets there on the river, very often you can already discount certain hands because of his tanking on flop or turn. So, or snap checking. So tanking on the river, usually out of position, I consider as rather weak. And I think it's also very similar to life where people pretend to tell you the message of, or tell you the story, hey, I have something good, so you better think twice what are you going to do.
Yeah, they take their chip and they make them ready for a call. It's usually when they are weak. It's like, I don't want you to bet, so here are my chips and I'm going to call you.
So I would say when people out of position, if you, for example, you bet flop, you bet turn, and then they tank for like 5-10 seconds and check to you on the river, it's also some sort of mechanism to think already through what happens if they bet in order to not waste their time bank, or maybe they have very little time bank, so they take the time to, before they check, to already think certain outcomes through to make a better decision, which makes a lot of sense, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, but I think on average, it's a hand that really doesn't want to call. and just, okay, if he goes all in, if he overbets all in, what I'm going to do. If I face a small bet, do I have an easy call? And then the snap check, I would say, so with tanking, I mean, I would say 1 or 2 seconds before the time bank expires. So let's say on PokerStars, you have 15 seconds. I think everything more than, let's say, 10 seconds, I would consider as overly long tanking on the river, where he is thinking something through, or he wants to pretend to be strong, that, I actually have a good hand. I was thinking, should I bet? Maybe fire a large bet. These kind of little mind games that are happening. The snap checks, I would say, are very often a trap or very easy folds.
Okay. Anything else you want to ask?
No. So when you talk about...
But
okay, keep going.
I think it's very important with also, but the most reliable tell I would say I've discovered in my career is when they snap call or snap tank before calling. Snap tank. They tank before calling, because if you have, especially if you play against an opponent that is not a maniac, he plays somewhat solid, and then he tanks, you can already preclude lots of flush draws. Like hand, that's an easy call. You bet half pot, maybe small sizing, he tanks forever. Something that you wouldn't usually do with a draw, especially when you're in position. And this also makes your life easier to, all right, if he can't have a flush, or it's unlikely he has a flush, you have an easier time value betting your maybe top pair or 2-pair, and because people are often like, oh, you can have all the flushes, but when you consider the timing tell, no, he actually doesn't, right? Or maybe if he goes for, I think I did a lot of hero calls in these spots where, let's say the board is, I don't know, whatever kind of board, and they might have the ace high with a flush draw blocker on the river, because that's actually a hand that really is tanking on the turn, might be, he knows we still have a lot of draws we can bet with. He has an ace high. He might be good. He has the, let's say, club blocker. When there are 2 clubs out there, you might think, oh, if the club gets there, I can turn my hand into bluff. Okay, let's call. Then the club gets there, you bet, and then he's like, oh, I have a good hand bluffing. And then you think it through, you with your 2-pair, and it's like, well, actually, you don't have a lot of flushes, because you wouldn't tank that long on the turn with a flush draw. But you have all these ace-king, ace-queen, maybe an ace-8 off, whatever, with the ace in clubs, that actually needs time to think it through, whether you want to be calling an ace high on the turn. So these kind of situations, I think, are very reliable, and people might not be aware of how many intel you can gain from your opponent tanking.
Nice.
That's some high-level shit. I can't even...
Yeah, I think that people actually get a little more about whether people multi-table about timing as well. For example, if you play 20 tables, I mean, should probably be a factor as well, factored in, I guess.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so we had like 2 questions that for me were pretty similar, so I gathered them into one question. They were by Gil Becker and Yaron Ganut. I hope I pronounced the names correct. So what do you think makes you so successful in poker, and what is the common characteristics for the best poker players in the world right now?
Basically, what is the X factor? The one that makes you guys so special?
Exactly.
I can't really speak for so many other X, but I would say that I'm very ambitious, yet I have very little pressure. So, and you might have seen it and heard it in a lot of my videos, that even if I lose a lot of money, or even if I might go broke in poker, my life is going to be all right. So I don't depend on poker. And this has been something from very early on. I was still doing my degree and bachelor's. I think it's good to just have your shit in order and not be so dependent on poker, because it creates a lot of pressure. It creates a lot of attachment to the game, attachment to the money. You need the money in order to pay your bills. You need the money in order to pay back your debt. And this is where I would say, even over good racks, I'm in a very, very happy relationship. I live in a very beautiful, I don't have to worry about, finding the love of my life, or, I have very, very amazing friends. Also very top pros are, from what I've experienced, very often lonely and a little depressed. And might be successful in poker. And I think that also gives me that extra little bit of edge where I can really work a lot because I have people having my back. I have a lot of diversity. You know, if I don't feel like grinding for 3 weeks, I have so many other projects. I'm not going to be sitting at home for 3 weeks and watching YouTube video because I don't know what else to do. So I'm very fulfilled right now. I have lots of purpose. I have lots of projects I can tackle. And I've been working towards that for many, many years. And because I realized how important it is to not be dependent on poker. And that's something that has created a lot of freedom, a lot of space in my mind to, play to the best of my ability.
I love it.
Yeah.
You want to be successful in poker? Get a life.
Have a backup plan.
Have a backup plan.
Perfect. You described it in a very German, very efficient way.
Yeah, but we always talk about it also in our podcast. I mean, me and Elkanah, we're both not professional poker players, and
No,
we
don't
always
wanna
say,
be.
to everyone, always have a backup plan because very, very little amount of players can be really successful and earn in online or not online or poker generally.
I remember even Ben saying it in one of his podcasts with I don't remember the guest, but he said that, most people won't be professional poker players because that's how it is. Most people won't be the professional football players or anything in that matter.
Yeah, but the thing is, for poker to continue be a fun game and for people to make money of, you need us. You need the recreationals. You need
the amateurs.
the people who won't go pro.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%.
So another question. This one is regarding Raise Your Edge. Of course, there were a lot of questions about Raise Your Edge. It's a question by Ziv Daskalo. He's also a very cool guy and a listener. And he wanted to ask your opinion about how do you think Raise Your Edge is different from the competitors? I mean, there are a lot of other poker coaching websites. What do you think makes Raise Your Edge different and successful? Probably.
What's Raise Your Edge?
Yeah, nice, nice.
That's me. Puns even in English.
I think the ability to reinvest on what we make to give it back to the community in a way that we pay coaches in Discord that help the community. I think we have 7 or 8 coaches in Discord being active every single day, responding to questions, having a very, very active community, a very engaging community that is supporting, helping each other. I think that's the core asset that we have with Raise Your Edge. And I haven't seen every single course. Like, I cannot tell you, like, okay, I don't know, BBZ is doing this better and they're doing this worse. And at the end of the day, also, it's up to the student to decide who is better, it's not, all we can do is to offer what we believe will help you to make a poker player a good poker player. And it's never or at least my belief that I'm going to go out there and say, hey, we are better than XYZ. I, of course, will share my concerns if I think, hey, listen, like, this is a tool or software that you should be very careful about because it's missing some fundamental aspects of learning, right? But this is then more sharing concern about the way of studying. And with Raise Your Edge, you always get the perfect balance between GTO and exploitative poker, which is very essential in these days. Poker is beatable. If it would be all about GTO poker, it would mean that there's no money to make because everyone plays perfect.
Exactly.
A core principle of GTO poker is that your opponent plays perfect. So that's not the case in poker. Absolutely not. Even for the best players in the world. So if you try to play GTO, you might be profitable, but it's not an efficient or effective way of trying to apply a strategy, because the exploitative strategy is going to make you way more money. And I don't want to say it's a shortcut, but I find that sometimes the GTO frequencies, it's so difficult to learn and can be very overwhelming and confusing. And with some simplifications, you're going to have a much easier life. For example, against recreationals, like we all know it, you don't need to bluff. They don't like folding. So you don't need to sit down and try to analyze a hand that you played against a donk that just doesn't like folding. He just plays for fun. And you don't need to study how to, find the perfect bluffs against him in a 3-bet pot for a gazillion big blinds. It's just stupid. You're just wasting your time. You wait for a good hand. You don't need to solve it to tell you that. And you also have a lot of regulars who don't like, they're good, they make money, but they have the league of being calling stations against other regulars because, I don't know, their ego or whatever. So you just wait until you have a good hand, period. And then you have good regs where, of course, you want to look into maybe some sims and see what we're supposed to bluff. But a lot of the times we don't. And that's counts for all areas. Whether it's ICM spots, pre-flop, post-flop, multi-way, blind versus blind.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah. It reminds me of a question, famous phrase by Daniel Negreanu who said that the poker, it's a very simple game. You have a good hand, you play. You don't have a good hand, you just fold. That's simple.
Wouldn't it be so simple?
Yeah, there
poker is not even close to being simple.
No, of course not. Of course not. There was a question by Oded Hamama who he asked, and something that I also wanted to ask, but we'll give him the credit. You play poker many years. Is it still fun for you, or is it like a job, like a Sunday, like a Monday 9 to 5 job? Like I don't have I don't want to play this shit anymore.
No, I would say overall it's still fun. I still enjoy it a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. But there's certainly days where I'm like, Sundays today, or there's a Sunday, it's like, no, today I'm not feeling like playing poker. But this very often is just also because there's something else going on in my life that just takes a lot of my mental capacity away and my attention. So then it's not because of the game, it's just I don't feel it. And then I don't play, I skip a Sunday.
But basically you still enjoy it. I mean, you still have the passion.
Of course.
Like you still get, I don't say nervous, but excited when you, I don't know, flop quads or something.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't see it on...
Even if I just get a 9-8, even if I just get the hype right before, you know, if 9-8 suited 3-way flop, you get to see the cards like, oh my God, this could be a big hand. And then it comes ace king, but it's not. Yeah.
Actually, going back to previous, I mean, on your stream, people tend to say, I mean, so you busted a big hand in a big hand, or you won a big hand, and people are like, oh, it's German. He has no feelings. He doesn't show anything. Like in the chat, like in the Twitch chat.
But in the inside, I'm excited. In the inside, I'm excited enough to play this game. Maybe I don't show it. But, you know, if you play poker for 10 years, and especially with my sit and go background, I think this really has helped me to just, you know, don't freak out when there's a big pot or a suck out. I mean, I've experienced millions all-ins from having 0.01% on the flop to winning the hand from having 99.9% on the flop and then losing it. And I've seen it so many times that it's not really like, of course, it's more of a tragedy when it happens in a deep run, and it kind of frustrates me as well, but it's not that I freak out or get like overly angry or something.
Yeah. I think that is one part of the mental aspect that it should be like a tip for beginners or basically any poker player. I see and hear a lot of people just getting into tilt and crushing the mouses and computers and screens and everything, and they just don't get out of it. I know that obviously you talked about a lot, and you worked with mindset coaches like Elliot Rowe, for example. So would you recommend doing any mental game to focus a lot on mental game in that aspect even prior to technical for certain players? I mean, if you get tilted, you play a Sunday, you play 12 tables, you have a deep run in your first game, and you get tilted because you lose aces to kings in the final table bubble, and then you crush your whole Sunday. So, would you think that is much more important to work on, whether on the technical stuff?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say necessarily more, but I feel like it's heavily neglected by a lot of players, and also it has side effects on your life. If you manage to control your emotions on the poker table, which is a very difficult thing to do, you're going to be doing very well in your life. You're going to be much more calmer, much more relaxed. Your decision-making system is on point. So I think this is just, well, even though you think you might not need it that much for poker, but I think it's just very helpful for your life in general.
Yeah, totally.
And I still have sessions with Elliot. Like it's a never-ending journey. I mean, this life, you will never reach a point where it's, oh, now I'm a machine. I never tilt. I always control my emotions. You can always, because with certain circumstances coming in your life, it will change, it will affect your mood, your emotions, and you need to adjust, and it's always helpful to have a mindset coach.
Yeah, but also I want to say, like, it's not something you hear a lot from poker coaches or from professionals. It's okay to get excited.
Of course.
It's okay to when you run deep, when you're on the final table bubble. It's okay to feel, even for the smallest hands, even if you lose now like a flip. It's okay to be there, to feel it, and not just on to the next one. It's something you don't hear much, and your position, it's certainly
refreshing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're not machines.
I think.
Yeah, no, we're not.
I think you can. I mean, in my opinion, you can get excited. You lose, like, let's say, as I said, the aces to kings in a final table bubble. You can get angry or whatever, like upset for 1 second, and you need to learn and know how to continue. And that I think is the key to have a more sustainable mindset in that.
Yeah, I think most what Elkanah meant, most poker professionals and coaches said, not said you can't get excited or angry. It just don't let it affect the rest of your game once it happened. I think this is what I'm.
But maybe they're wrong.
What do you mean?
You need to let it affect your game. I'm just putting it out there. Okay.
I disagree on that.
For the next question is by Eliasaf Doel, which is was also a guest here twice in this podcast. He spoke about your. I mean, at the beginning, you didn't expose yourself. Probably some people didn't know who you are. And then eventually you decided to say, hi, I'm Benjamin Rולה, and this is me, I'm BenCB. So why did you choose at the beginning not to share your real identity, and why then you did decided to do it?
I think the ultimate goal in life should be, at least for me, right? I'm not speaking for others. I'm not saying, hey, this is how you should see it. But for me, it was always becoming successful without being recognized as successful, or being rich or becoming rich without being recognized as being rich. I think this just creates a lot of harmony and peace in your life. And I always saw it as distraction to be exposed, and, didn't see any value in that. I just didn't see anything good coming from that. It's like, hey, I want to grind, I want to play poker. I had my poker school, I had my coachings, and I was helping people. I had a purpose, and I was fine. But at some point, we just kept growing and growing, and we started doing live events. And I got to realize how much I enjoy working with people in real situation or in real life, from face to face. We had a boot camp in Barcelona, and this also really proved my experience from the first event we had in Vienna, that I really enjoyed doing these kind of live boot camps and connecting with our community, with our students, and even building some friendships. And that was really great. And also another factor that people were approaching me, some really great projects or great people that wanted to be working with me, but it would have been extremely hard or almost impossible without me, stepping up and coming in front of the cam. So I made the decision to give it a try, and it turned out to be a good decision.
Yeah, and now you're allowed in front of the cam.
Yeah, when I do it, then I do it right.
Yeah.
There's no halfway.
Yeah.
It's either go home or go in.
Yeah.
I have a story about that, actually. 2 years ago in WSOP in 2019, you were still unknown. You were just BenCB, some internet enigma, and you had raised your age. And Alon Eldar, he played in some of the events, and I was back here in Israel, and I was refreshing poker news like 24/7. All I did was tracking all the tournaments, all the Israeli players, all the famous players, and then he asked me, "Can you tell me now who bust the 600 deep stack, because BenCB wrote on his Twitter that he busted, and I need to check it out who he is. I need to see on the list, on the name list, who finished in 281 place." And and I was like, "What?"
Was it a live tournament?
Yeah, it was a deep stack tournament in Vegas. There were like
the WSOP.
600 of them.
It was from like 2014 then,
No,
right?
it's 2019.
Yeah.
But Okay, I see.
That's the story, yeah.
Okay, so if we already Elkanah opened it about live poker, so I mean you play most online, and we didn't see you in many live events. Is it going to change when live events will be back post-COVID era?
Depends. I'm probably not grinding a lot. I would like to go. I intended to go to the PSPC in Barcelona, which just got canceled a couple of days ago.
Yeah, sucks.
Again.
Surely Vegas, some stops in Europe here and there. Not grinding a lot, but trying to combine it with maybe some events that we do with Raise Your Edge somewhere close by. Last year or the year before, 2 years, actually no, 2 years ago, actually almost. We combined the EPT with our boot camp, so people stayed a couple of days longer, could attend our boot camp. So,
do you understand why
I was in that EPT?
What?
I was at the beginning of that EPT.
Yeah.
No, just he said like bootcamp like 5 times in the last 10 minutes, and you understand why I love this accent.
The bootcamp.
Yeah, the bootcamp.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Will you be doing any future bootcamp post-COVID as well? Are you considering that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Check.
Nice to know. And once there will be a schedule, let us know. Okay, we have many, as I said, we have many questions, and we gathered some more. We have like 15 minutes, so we have like 7-8 questions. So let's try to squeeze all of them in. Alex Bunin asked, do you play something that is not poker tournaments? Maybe, I don't know, do you play a lot of cash? Maybe do you play other variants, formats? Maybe some things that are not poker. I mean, we heard you were a soccer player.
I love playing some video games. I mean, we're involved in esports. I have an esports background. I love kickboxing. I used to do also Krav Maga on a regular basis, which I guess you guys are very familiar with.
Yeah, all these Israelis are Krav Maga champions.
Yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, you had an Israeli coach for Krav Maga, right?
Yeah. I also had an Israeli coach, yeah. So, because I was before, I had a guy who was not from Israel, and I felt like, if you really want to learn Krav Maga, you need to have someone with an Israeli background.
Authentic.
Otherwise, it's not the real deal.
You need authenticity.
Yeah.
That's nice. And on poker, you play also cash?
Yeah, I sometimes cash game. I mean, I have even some cash game videos on our YouTube that I uploaded. Zoom 500, low stakes, all different stakes. I here and there some PLO, just very rarely, but I also enjoy actually PLO if I find the time. I have nothing better to do than jump in the PO pool.
Nice.
And
also during Scoop, I like the draw games a lot. I'm gonna play the draw tournaments, single draw, some mixed games as well.
All the games that I have
Not saying that I'm good at it, but I'm trying.
Not enough of those in Israel.
Yeah. I actually remember you ran deep in a Scoop, I think, or whether it W Cup in a short deck tournament, actually.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
I hate this game.
The equities in short deck is so weird.
The variance is crazy, right? Also.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question by Eliasaf Dowell. He asked, that's a very interesting one. Which players used to be your inspiration when you started your poker journey? Maybe who inspires you in poker right now? We would like to hear about it.
I wouldn't say back then. I wasn't really following the pro scene a lot. I was just in my online grind. And if you're an online nerd, and I was really not following the poker scene or the industry itself. So who won a lot of titles or whatever. It's like guys I was looking up to. The grinding ability back then was like Tom Dwan, the young guy. I was of course someone you would look up to. And then there would be today. It's Eric Seidel that really stands out in terms of his consistency. Before COVID, when he was playing, he was still showing up and being able to adjust to the player pool, and that was really remarkable. A lot of these guys from old school, like Phil Hellmuth, they really struggled to adjust to the new age poker tendencies, and that's why you see a lot of these guys also not playing these high rollers on a consistent basis. So yeah. If I would say one name, it would be Erik Seidel.
Yeah, coach of Maria Konnikova.
He's not the coach of Maria Konnikova. Maria Konnikova, he's the student of Erik Seidel. I'm asking of you, please.
I actually,
he's
a funny
a legend.
Story. I ordered their book. I don't remember from which site. It was supposed to come. It passed like a month and a half, and it never came. So they just refunded, but I still don't have the book yet.
It's a great book. You mean the book from Maria Konnikova?
Yeah, I also also listened to your podcast with her.
You remember when you started like poker and follow poker, and you saw rounders and you saw Erik Seidel in that pot lose to Johnny Chan in the World Series and say, "Oh, there's Erik Seidel. What a fish."
No, not really. It's Erik Seidel.
He's losing. No. Okay, so I wanna ask. A question by Shai Shabo. He asked, do you prefer tournaments with small binds and a bigger player pool, or like a very like high rollers with a higher bind and smaller player pool?
I like both. I wouldn't say No, I like both.
Which money are you more successful in?
Sunday Storm.
I have no Sunday Storm. I'm probably even down in money. I've never looked it up.
Okay.
Honestly, and I have no idea. I think I will do better because you're going to be more often ICM spots in the smaller fields, but I can't really say. I can't really back this up with any numbers. I barely check my results. I really don't care about it.
Okay.
I just try to make money on a consistent basis, to win tournaments and focus on the things I have in control, making good decisions, improving my poker game, reviewing hands, getting feedback on others. Mm-hmm. And then the results will take care of itself. I do it the opposite way as many do it. They focus on the results and then they try to improve things. I just try to focus on the process and my decisions, and then, as I said, the result will take care of itself.
Yeah, another aspect of the mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question by Jonathan Baruch, and I hope that I'm gonna rephrase it correctly, because I don't remember you saying it, but you probably did. He said that you sometimes say that 3-bet and flat calling has the same EV. So he wanted you to maybe to talk about it a bit more.
Mm-hmm. I actually just recorded a YouTube video yesterday that I'm going to put on YouTube the next couple of days, where sometimes it's not like identical, but for example, there was a spot where, if you're in the big blind and you defend, and you have the option defend or 3-bet, we would very often, if we fold, we lose one big blind. So basically, the moment we lose less than a big blind, so let's say you only lose 0.6 big blinds, you want to make that decision, whether it's call or 3-bet. So let's say there was a spot where, let's say you have a hand like, 7-6 suited, and the EV is 0.6 big blinds in calling, or minus 0.6, right? So you only lose 0.6 big blinds. So you win 0.4 big blinds over folding. So, and then 3-betting is like minus 6. What did I say? Did I say minus 0.4, minus 0.6?
Minus 0.06.
Minus 0.6. And then 3-betting is like minus 0.6.05 or minus 0.68. So it's like 0.07 or 0.5 big blinds EV difference. It's neglectable, right? So this is where I say that the EV is almost identical, and especially when the solver likes to choose certain frequencies. So, wants to 3-bet 50% of the time, wants to call 50% of the time. That it's literally whatever, and you should probably make the best decision based on your opponent. Do you think maybe slightly overcalling, overfolding? If he just calls one combo more or one hand more or folds one hand more against your 3-bet than he's supposed to, you want to be 3-betting. This already shifts the EV in a different direction. So, yeah, so many small details we need to take into consideration. So I think it's important to have a sound approach towards the game. So you play fundamentally correct, that you know roughly how many hands you want to be defending and how wide you want to be defending. So if, let's say, you defend 60% of your hands and you're not going to be like a nit like 30 or 40%, or you're going to be defending 100%, that you don't make blunders. And I think that's way more crucial than, you know, looking at these super marginal differences in calling and 3-betting.
I hope that you understood it, because I lost him about 2 minutes ago. I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Basically, it's like if you look, for example, in post-flop in Pio, you can have the EV of checking and betting, or betting a third and betting 50% pretty much the same, so it's neglectable. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand most of it, but again, it's so much higher level than we two used to. We play live tournaments in Israel. You don't need to. you don't need
those calculations. No.
You just don't bluff and you'll be all right.
Okay, so we have like 3 more questions. Okay, that's a nice one by Gil Becker. Is Raise Your Edge is more profitable than a successful poker player?
Sorry?
He asked if Raise Your Edge is more profitable than a successful poker player.
So if Raise Your Edge, running the business, is more profitable than playing poker?
You can say that. You can rephrase it. He had a really Israeli phrasing, but you can.
Okay. No, it's not.
Okay.
Makes sense.
This guy's playing like the high rollers.
It's profitable, certainly. But it's more profitable if I would just play on my own and grind a full schedule.
Thank you for that, for making this. Did I just? Okay.
Yeah, you almost broke the table.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
Okay, so there's a question by Daniel Sadok. It's kind of taking you into our Israeli spot. Let's say that you lived in a country that poker is illegal. Let's say Israel, and would you still do it? And if you did, would you fight for poker to be legal in your country? And how would you try to explain why this game should be legal?
And basically why it's not like gambling and like everything, which is sort of why it's illegal here, I guess.
Yes.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
It depends on what you want in life. There are people that, you know, they really want to make a big impact and they would fight for it, then go for it. I think in terms of EV and in terms of effectiveness, probably better if you spend your time in finding a different country, move away. And I think in terms of the community EV, it's probably better if you do it. But in terms of your own EV, it's better if you just leave the country and, like, I think, but you moved to England, right? To London?
Yeah, I did.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, that's going to be way more effective. Because this, I can tell you, Germany is now trying to do this for 20 years. So even if you might get in 2 or 3 years to convince a politician, another party is coming to the power. And positions change, and you have to start all over again.
Yeah, everything changes.
Yeah, I feel like this is a little bit like a lost battle, and I think this is also where the poker sites have way more manpower, way more resources to fight for online poker or poker in general, instead of us as individuals trying to do what poker sites are now trying to do for like many, many years.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not impossible. If you dream back, but it's very important to build a network, to reach out to politicians, Yeah, I mean, we're living this reality here. We had like Israeli locals who are trying to fight this war against to fight to make poker legal, and so far it's not very successful here, but there are some achievements. Okay, so last question before we thank you and wrap up.
This is a weird one.
This is a weird one, and it's a very funny one by Itzik Karasik. What is your obsession with cold showers?
Well, just try it out and then you will understand.
what? Yeah, okay.
Okay, you say just try it out, like getting into the shower, putting the cold water, and just.
I tried.
It's something you need to feel.
I was in the military. I tried.
Yeah, but
aren't Israelis tough guys? I thought all of you guys are going to take cold showers.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
I mean,
why is this question even coming up? Why is this even the debate?
We're tough, but we don't like getting cold.
We're not. We're pussies. We don't.
no,
like...
I think maybe it's because of the weather in Israel. The weather in Israel is usually hot, so people are not used to the cold. Only maybe in the army in some spots. So not all spots, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it makes you. I find it better than coffee. It just wakes you up. It improves your immune system. I haven't been sick for I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, where I've really had to lie in bed for a couple of days and recover. It doesn't happen. It strengthens your immune system.
I want to hear this about why did you ask this question last? I want to hear about it more. Like I want to start a health podcast
and talk about cold showers.
Yeah, and have you as my guest and talk about cold showers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's also so much info on the internet, and Wim Hof is for me a big inspiration, and yeah.
Okay, Ben. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. It was a real pleasure. And what can we wish you? Like, keep on running well and keep on...
No, just health.
What?
Just health.
Yeah.
Keep on running well, not just in poker, in life.
In life.
So
Exactly,
In life.
Good run in life.
And still good luck in Scoop and everything coming up right now, next Sunday.
Do you have something you want to say to our listeners, to us, to the world?
Just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Just take care of yourself. Live healthy, eat good food, work out, and you're gonna be healthy for the most part, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, totally agree. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you,
very
Ben.
nice talking to you,
Thanks,
and
Ben.
I hope we'll have a chance to talk to you again someday.
Sure.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you guys are doing.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye, Ben.
And much love to Israel.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 וואו.
וואו, איזה בן אדם.
וואו.
כן. שמע, למדתי לא מעט, אני מרגיש שכאילו לקחתי איזה מיני קורס ב-Raise Your Edge בשעה וחצי האלה.
הוא אורח מאוד מעניין.
זה היה בכוונה במבטא גרמני.
מבטא גרמני קצת מוזר.
זה מבטא יותר, כן.
כן, אבל למדנו לא מעט, והיה מאוד מאוד מעניין. אני חושב שההתייחסות שלו בעיקר לצד המנטלי. אפילו הסוף שהוא דיבר על המקלחת הקרה,
כן.
אפילו זה כאילו אתה מרגיש שהבן אדם משקיע בכל פרט בחיים שלו על איך זה משפיע על המצב רוח שלו ועל התפיסה שלו.
כן, לחלוטין. אתה רואה את זה גם בסרטוני יוטיוב שלו, גם במהלך הקורס, אתה רואה את זה גם בדיסקורד, שגם בכל סנדיי הוא אומר, כאילו, אומר איזה פסקה מאוד ארוכה לכולם, תזכרו פה, תזכרו שם וכולי. הוא נותן לזה אספקט מאוד חשוב, ולכן גם רציתי להעלות את זה יותר. כי אני חושב שזה משהו שלוקה אצל הרבה מאוד אנשים בקהילה בעולם בכללי, וגם בהרבה דברים שראיתי בקהילה בישראל, ולכן גם אני אישית העליתי כמה פוסטים בנושא בפוקרנט וב-A-Game של יניב, שאני חושב שזה מאוד יעזור, ולכולם יש מה ללמוד, כמובן, תמיד, ובאספקט הזה הייתי מאוד חשוב אם אתה רוצה לשחק פוקר, ובכללי בחיים.
מסכים.
סבבה, אז זה היה...
אני רק רוצה שנייה כאילו לתת כזה דיסקליימר למאזינים. זה שהיה לנו את נורמן צ'אד לאחרונה ועכשיו את בן, ויש לנו עוד אורח גדול שאנחנו לא נחשוף את שמו, יש כאילו דיבורים. אל תצפו לרמה הזאת. אנחנו בסך הכל שני חבר'ה עם מעט מאוד שאיפות ועוד הרבה פחות חיים. אז כאילו, אני יודע, אנחנו משקיעים באמת בפודקאסט הזה המון, אבל כאילו פשוט אל תצפו לרמה של BenCB כל שבוע.
אבל בן אמר לך שאתה צריך חיים.
אין לי, סורי.
כן, נכון, אבל זה נכון שיש עוד אורח בוא נגיד, ניתן רמז, אורח שיש לו כנראה צמיד מאוד מאוד יוקרתי בעולם הפוקר, שאולי יבוא בהמשך.
עכשיו אני מסוכן.
שאולי יבוא בהמשך.
זה אולי.
אולי, אנחנו מקווים שכן, ומקווים שזה יסתדר. אז שוב נגיד, תודה רבה לאור אליעז המלך מול פני פודקאסטים בגובה. נהייתי נערת הגלגל, אני פשוט מצביע על הלוגו. תודה רבה לספונסרים שלנו, ראנר, באמת, שוב, על כל התמיכה, גם בתקופה הזאת שהעסק שלהם לא פעיל ב-100%, אז תודה רבה. ג'בוטי, היה כיף שבאת, ותודה רבה, ואני בטוח שנביא אותך גם לעוד פרקים בהמשך, גם לדבר על פוקר וגם לדבר על הסטרים שלך וכו', אבל זה היה כיף שהצטרפת.
וגם לדבר על קפוארה קצת אולי.
עשיתי עוד הרבה דברים אחרי. תודה רבה, כיף להתארח, ואני חושב שבוא נאחל לכולם הצלחה בסדרה שבהתחילה ביום ראשון בג'י-ג'י.
כן, לסדרה, מי שמשחק בשבע אקסל בסדרה של הספרינג בהצלחה, מי שחוזר ללייב פוקר בהצלחה לי.
בהצלחה למר אייל, ומזל טוב מר אייל.
תודה. אליפות האביב של האקדמיה, זה תהיה אחלה, להדביק את זה, זה יהיה אחלה מתנת יום הולדת 36.
כן.
אלקנה, תודה.
תודה אייל, תודה תום.
ברגיל, תרוצו טוב גם בשולחנות, ובעיקר, בעיקר בחיים.
כן, ואל תשכחו, אז בגובה זה פודקאסט, לא יד לשלם איתה.
יאללה ביי.
ביי ביי.
ביי.